You know, life has a funny way of teaching us the most important lessons, not through comfort, but through challenge. Every morning we wake up is a new chance to become the person we keep imagining in our dreams. A better version of ourselves, and the truth is, becoming that version doesn't require a miracle. It just needs small, daily choices, quiet efforts, honest work with yourself, confidence, personality. These aren't things you're born with like your eye color or your height. They're muscles, and muscles grow with effort, consistency, and sometimes pain. So let's talk about the little things, the daily habits. The invisible work you can do to evolve silently, beautifully, powerfully. Every single day begins with a decision, and the way we start our mornings sets the tone for everything that follows. In a world filled with endless noise, distractions, and external pressures, we often forget the value of silence. The moment we open our eyes, we're bombarded with thoughts, plans, worries, notifications, and responsibilities. But what if before we let the world in, we gave ourselves a few quiet moments to just be? Silence in the morning is not about doing nothing. It's about grounding yourself, aligning with your purpose, and creating inner space before the world demands your attention. It's a simple act, yet it holds the power to transform how you carry yourself throughout the day. When you sit in silence, even for just 5 minutes, you begin to hear the thoughts that usually get drowned out by noise. You become aware of your feelings, you recognize your own voice, and that self-awareness is the first key to building true personality and confidence. Because personality isn't about how loud you are or how many people notice you. It's about how well you know yourself, how in tune you are with your emotions, your intentions, and your energy. Confidence doesn't come from pretending to be strong. It comes from knowing who you are, even when no one else is watching. That knowing begins in silence. Silence also teaches you discipline. It teaches you to pause before reacting, to reflect before speaking, and to make conscious choices instead of impulsive ones. And in that discipline, your personality gains depth. You begin to carry yourself with calm assurance instead of constant urgency. You don't feel the need to compete for attention because you've already connected with yourself. You don't seek validation from others because your inner voice is already guiding you. You're not easily shaken by challenges or comments because you've built a solid foundation within. A silent morning is not an escape from life. It's a powerful entrance into it. When you start your day grounded, you walk differently. You speak differently, your eyes carry focus, your words carry weight, your presence becomes intentional. People sense that. They may not always understand it, but they feel it. And that quiet strength becomes a part of your personality. During these moments of silence, you can also choose to direct your mind intentionally. Instead of letting negative or anxious thoughts take over, you can guide your thinking toward gratitude, clarity, or simple awareness. You might sit by your window, breathe slowly, and simply observe the world waking up. Or you might close your eyes and pay attention to your breath, allowing your thoughts to rise and fall without clinging to any of them. These small acts of mindfulness are powerful tools for inner transformation. And perhaps the most beautiful part of starting your day with silence is that it belongs only to you. It's not for social media. It's not for approval. It's not even for productivity. It's for presence. It's for healing. It's for remembering that you are not just what you do, what you achieve, or what others think. You are a human being first. A soul with thoughts, emotions, and dreams, and that soul deserves a moment of attention before the demands of the day begin. Once you create this space, you'll find that it stays with you. Even in the busiest hours, a part of you remains centered. Even in the loudest moments, you carry a thread of calm. And when your actions come from that space, they are more powerful, more authentic, more aligned. The way we speak to ourselves shapes everything we become. Before the world can lift us or tear us down, it is our inner voice that decides how we see ourselves. Every single day we have a conversation with ourselves, whether we realize it or not, and that conversation, repeated over and over, becomes our truth. It becomes the lens through which we see the world and our place in it. If that voice is constantly critical, filled with doubt, shame, or negativity, then no matter how much praise we receive from outside, it won't feel real. But when that voice is kind, forgiving, and encouraging, we begin to grow in ways that no external compliment could ever spark. Self-talk is one of the most powerful tools we have, yet it's also one of the most ignored. Most people are so used to belittling themselves that they don't even recognize the damage it causes. Simple phrases like "I'm so stupid," "I always mess up," "I'm not good enough," become part of their identity, not because they are true, but because they've been repeated so many times. If we talk to our friends the way we often talk to ourselves, we wouldn't have any friends left. But we keep doing it to ourselves, expecting to feel confident while tearing down our self-worth from within. Rewriting that internal dialogue is not about lying to yourself or pretending everything is perfect. It's about shifting the tone. It's about replacing judgment with understanding, criticism with compassion, and fear with encouragement. When you wake up and look in the mirror, you get to choose how you speak to that reflection. You can choose to see the flaws, the imperfections, the things society told you to dislike. Or you can choose to see someone who is trying, someone who is growing, someone who deserves support. That choice becomes a habit, and that habit builds confidence not rooted in ego, but in self-respect. The words you use matter. Saying "I can't do this" creates a wall. Saying "I'm learning how to do this" opens a door. Saying "I failed" closes off possibility. Saying "this is part of my growth" allows room for progress. It's a subtle shift, but one that rewires how you see yourself. And over time, these shifts build a foundation of inner strength. They help you face challenges without breaking. They help you accept imperfections without shame. They help you walk into rooms without the need to prove anything, simply because you already believe in your own worth. People often think that confidence is something you either have or don't have, but confidence is built word by word, belief by belief, moment by moment. It starts in silence, in the small daily decisions to treat yourself with kindness. When you catch yourself thinking something harsh, pause and ask, "Would I say this to someone I love?" If the answer is no, then you don't say it to yourself either. Instead, you replace it, not with false praise, but with truth rooted in compassion. "I made a mistake, but I am learning. I feel scared, but I am still moving forward. I am not perfect, but I am enough." Over time, this voice becomes louder than the ones that try to bring you down. It becomes your anchor when life becomes chaotic. It becomes your shield when rejection or failure tries to shake you. And that voice doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you act. You begin to show up differently. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop hiding behind doubt. You stop waiting for someone else to approve of you. Because when your own voice starts to believe in you, the rest of the world begins to follow. Your body speaks long before your words do. Long before someone hears your voice, they read your posture, your presence, the way you hold yourself in a room. The way you stand, sit, walk, and look someone in the eye sends messages not only to others, but more importantly to your own mind. Most people don't realize that confidence can be triggered physically. The way you carry yourself isn't just a reflection of how you feel inside. It can actually shape how you feel. The mind and body are in constant communication. When you adjust your physical posture, your internal state follows. That's why something as simple as standing tall, pulling your shoulders back, lifting your chin, and making steady eye contact can change your entire energy. It's not about faking it. It's about aligning your outer body with the strength you're trying to build inside. When you slouch or keep your gaze low, you're sending a silent message to yourself and others that you feel small, unsure, invisible. Over time, this becomes habitual, and that posture begins to influence how you see yourself. You start acting like someone who shouldn't be noticed, but the moment you change that habit, even if it feels uncomfortable at first, you start to send a new message: I belong here. I deserve space. I have something to offer. This shift is subtle, but it's powerful, because when your body supports your worth, your mind follows. Eye contact is another powerful tool that many overlook. It's more than a social skill. It's an affirmation of your presence. Looking someone in the eye tells them, and yourself, that you're not afraid to be seen, you're not shrinking, you're not apologizing for being in the room. You're showing up fully and unapologetically. For many people, avoiding eye contact becomes a way to hide. It's tied to insecurity, fear of rejection, or a lack of self-trust. But the more you practice holding eye contact, even for a few seconds longer than usual, the more you develop an internal belief that you are equal, worthy, and capable of connection. Your walk also speaks volumes. Are you rushing, dragging your feet, walking as if you want to disappear? Or are you walking with presence, purpose, and direction? Confident people walk like they're going somewhere, even when they're not. They don't move too fast to escape or too slow to avoid attention. They move with balance. Your walk doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to reflect that you're grounded, that you're aware of your space, and that you're owning it. Breathing deeply and slowly is another physical cue tied directly to confidence. When you're nervous or unsure, your breath becomes shallow. You breathe from your chest, and your body becomes tense. But when you take slow, full breaths from your diaphragm, your nervous system relaxes. You send a signal to your brain that you are safe, calm, and in control. This state allows you to think clearly, respond thoughtfully, and engage with others from a place of strength rather than anxiety. Even your hands and facial expressions matter. Are your hands clenched or relaxed? Are you hiding them or using them naturally as you speak? Is your face tight with tension, or are you allowing yourself to soften your jaw, relax your forehead, and maybe even smile? These tiny cues all add up. They build an image, not for others first, but for yourself. And when that image begins to reflect confidence, steadiness, and quiet assurance, your personality follows that rhythm. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't have to take up space aggressively. Just by standing tall, looking ahead, and walking with presence, you are already becoming someone who is grounded, unshakable, and authentic. Reading is one of the most transformative habits a person can develop. It's more than just collecting information or finishing books. It's a quiet, consistent act of expansion. Every page you read becomes a brick in the foundation of your personality. It adds new thoughts, new perspectives, and new layers to your understanding of the world and yourself. A person who reads regularly carries a different kind of depth. Their conversations are thoughtful, their opinions are rooted in awareness, and their presence has substance. They don't just react, they reflect. They don't speak to impress, they speak to connect, and that connection begins with curiosity, the willingness to learn, to question, to explore beyond the surface. When you choose to read, you're choosing to step outside of your current world and enter another. That shift alone broadens your vision. It shows you how other people live, think, and feel. It teaches you empathy without preaching. It shows you complexity without chaos, and as you read, you begin to see yourself differently too. You find words for feelings you couldn't explain. You see pieces of your story in someone else's. You uncover truths you didn't know you needed. In this quiet process, your inner world grows richer, and that richness begins to reflect in how you speak, how you listen, and how you carry yourself. A curious mind is never stuck. It's never bored. It's always reaching, always open, always evolving. That openness is a defining trait of strong personality. It allows you to remain humble in your growth. You don't claim to know everything. Instead, you approach life as a student, always eager to learn more. This mindset keeps you grounded, yet rising. It gives you the confidence to admit what you don't know and the courage to keep discovering. And when you speak, people listen. Not because you're loud, but because your words come from a place of thoughtfulness and intention. Reading also sharpens your language. It gives you new vocabulary, not just in words, but in emotion and meaning. It helps you articulate yourself more clearly, express your thoughts more precisely, and respond with nuance instead of noise. You don't just talk more, you talk better. That clarity is magnetic. People are drawn to those who speak with purpose and understanding, and that understanding doesn't come from guessing. It comes from learning, from reading, from caring enough to seek out knowledge and wisdom. In a world obsessed with appearances, a well-read mind stands out. It's not always the loudest in the room, but it's the one people return to when they want depth instead of drama. Books become companions that challenge you, comfort you, and expand you. They become mirrors and windows at the same time, showing you who you are and what else is out there, and that balance between self-awareness and world. Awareness is what makes personality shine. It's what gives your confidence roots. Because when you know where your thoughts come from, when you've taken the time to explore ideas, when you've wrestled with complexity and still chosen clarity, you walk through the world with a kind of quiet certainty that doesn't need to prove anything. Reading also teaches patience. In a time where attention spans are shrinking, the act of sitting with a book, staying with an idea, and allowing it to unfold slowly is a form of discipline. That discipline spills over into other areas of life. You become more attentive, more present, more engaged. You start to notice details others miss. You listen more fully. You respond more mindfully. These qualities might seem small, but they shape the way people experience you. They turn simple interactions into meaningful ones. They make your presence not just seen but felt. Every single day, there is a quiet invitation to step beyond what feels safe. The comfort zone is not a place of peace, it's a place of limitation. It whispers to you, telling you to stay small, stay hidden, stay predictable. And for a while, it feels easier to listen. But nothing grows in that space. Confidence does not come from repeating the same actions that you already know how to do. It is born in those uncertain moments when you try something new, when you face discomfort head on, when you challenge the idea that you're not capable enough. Each time you choose to take even a small step outside your comfort zone, you send a signal to yourself that you are more than your fear. That signal becomes strength. That strength becomes self-belief, and that self-belief begins to shape your entire personality. It doesn't have to be something dramatic. It can be as simple as starting a conversation with someone new, speaking up in a meeting, expressing an opinion without apologizing, or showing up somewhere alone. The size of the action doesn't matter. What matters is the intention behind it. The moment you feel resistance and decide to move anyway, you start building a new narrative. You begin to prove to yourself that the fear is not stronger than your will. You start to realize that rejection won't destroy you, that failure won't define you, and that discomfort is just a sign that growth is happening. Confidence is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But just like physical training, it requires consistency and challenge. You can't expect to grow if you keep lifting the same weight every day. You need to stretch, to test, to push just a little further than before. That's what stepping out of your comfort zone does. It puts you in situations where you don't have all the answers, and in doing so, it teaches you how to trust yourself anyway. It reminds you that being uncertain is not the same as being incapable. That stumbling doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're learning in real time. The beauty of this practice is that it slowly rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids challenge and start seeing yourself as someone who embraces growth. That shift is powerful because when you change your view of yourself, you change the way you interact with the world. You begin to enter rooms with a different energy. You stop shrinking in the face of pressure. You stop waiting for permission to take action. You become someone who leads with courage, even when your voice shakes, even when your hands tremble. That kind of courage is magnetic. It doesn't need to shout to be heard. It doesn't need to dominate to be respected. It simply needs to be practiced every day in small intentional ways. There will always be moments when fear shows up. That's natural. The goal is not to eliminate fear, but to build the habit of moving despite it. The people who seem confident are not fearless. They've just learned to walk through the fear instead of letting it freeze them, and that habit starts with daily choices, choosing the harder conversation, choosing the unfamiliar path, choosing to say yes when it would be easier to say no. These choices shape the way you think, the way you act, and the way others experience your presence. They give your personality an edge, not in arrogance, but in authenticity. Because when you step into your discomfort, you strip away the masks, you stop pretending, you show up raw, real, and ready, and people feel that energy. It invites connection, it commands respect, and it reflects a kind of quiet power that no amount of pretending can ever replace. The people you surround yourself with shape more than just your mood. They shape your mindset, your energy, your belief system, and the way you view yourself. Every conversation, every shared silence, every opinion you hear on repeat begins to weave itself into the background music of your life. When you're constantly around people who complain, doubt, gossip, or belittle, that energy doesn't just stay outside. It seeps in. It plants seeds of fear, insecurity, and hesitation. You start questioning your dreams, doubting your worth, and shrinking your voice to match the room you're in. But when you consciously choose to surround yourself with people who lift, inspire, and challenge you in the right ways, your entire emotional environment begins to shift. You no longer feel the need to dim your light. You no longer feel guilty for wanting more. You begin to rise, not through pressure, but through possibility. Positive people don't just make you feel good. They remind you of who you really are when you forget. They reflect back the version of you that is strong, brave, and capable. They don't compete with you. They celebrate you. They don't dismiss your struggles. They hold space for them without letting you drown in them. This kind of support doesn't always come with loud encouragement. Sometimes it's in the quiet presence of someone who believes in your potential even when you're doubting yourself. Sometimes it's in a few words at the right time that change the entire direction of your thinking. Sometimes it's in being around someone whose energy is so grounded that it teaches you how to ground yourself. Choosing who you let into your space is an act of self-respect. It's not about arrogance or shutting people out. It's about recognizing that you become like the company you keep. If you want to grow in confidence and character, you need to be around those who live with integrity, who speak with purpose, who treat others with kindness, and who are not afraid to chase their dreams. Their energy becomes your blueprint, their courage becomes contagious, their mindset becomes part of your atmosphere, but this choice also requires you to be honest with yourself. Sometimes the people we hold on to are the ones who keep us stuck, not because they are bad people, but because they are afraid of change. They might love you, but they might not support the version of you that wants to rise. And it takes courage to recognize when someone's presence in your life is holding you back. It takes strength to let go of connections that no longer align with your values or vision. That release is not a rejection, it's a redirection. It's making space for the relationships that nourish your growth instead of stifling it. At the same time, you also have to ask what kind of energy you bring to others. Are you someone who uplifts or drains? Do you inspire confidence in others, or do you feed into their fears? The kind of people you attract often mirrors the kind of energy you give out. So as much as you seek positivity around you, it's equally important to cultivate it within you. Work on being the kind of person others feel safe around, someone whose words heal instead of harm, someone whose presence invites authenticity instead of performance, someone whose belief in others becomes a reminder for them to believe in themselves. The more intentional you become with your environment, the more you'll notice your own energy shifting. Your thoughts become clearer. Your confidence grows quietly. Your personality begins to reflect more joy, more steadiness, more purpose. You stop chasing validation and start nurturing real connection. You stop feeling like you have to prove your worth and start surrounding yourself with those who already see it. This circle becomes your mirror, your support system, your foundation in moments of uncertainty.